All right, guys, so let's talk about some audio engineering jobs that are not music related. All right, so the world of audio engineering is very, very competitive and it can be difficult to stay afloat sometimes. So, what I figured I would talk about today is, first of all, just the idea that there are audio engineering jobs out there that are not music related, they are not in music. And we could talk about what some of those jobs are. So, I'm pretty proud of myself that I work full time as an audio engineer, but that does not always mean that I'm working on music, right? So some of the things that I do personally that are not music related are things like I teach at a college, that's a film college, right? So I'm teaching film students audio engineering stuff that's relevant to film. So like sound design, production sound, post-production sound, stuff like that. I sometimes work on film stuff. So usually it's like independent films. I'll do sound design stuff. That's my favorite. I really love doing sound design. Sometimes it involves doing stuff like doing noise reduction. That's pretty common, right? So noise reduction is kind of a pain to deal with. So if you want to get really good at that, there's probably some work in it for you somewhere. What else have I personally done? I worked for a company for a long time, for years. I worked for a company that does, it's a CEO network. So it's basically recording. CEOs have these groups that they get together and they talk about business stuff and they would record those meetings and I would process those and upload them for them to a website. And that kind of touches on one thing that I have on my list here that I'm looking at. So I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute here as well. But basically, those are some of the things that I've personally done. But I've also come up with a list of things that I've heard of people doing just by talking to other audio engineers in the industry. So without any further ado, I guess, these are it's seven. Seven audio engineering jobs that are not music related. All right, so number one, I talk about this a lot in my videos actually, is the idea of editing and recording podcasts. So a lot of people are getting into podcasting. Once they get to a certain level of interest in it, sometimes they will want to hire an audio engineer to clean up and maybe sound design their podcasts. So that can be a really fun thing. It can be tedious at times because you have to do things like cut out sections of talking that they don't want to include, or you have to cut out breaths occasionally or mouth noises or stuff like that. So it can be kind of tedious, but other than that, it can be very fun. You know, there is a lot of sound design in podcasts nowadays. So it can be both fun and it can be a creative outlet for you as well. So editing and recording podcasts, I'm a big fan of that one. If you're looking for more work as an audio engineer, I would definitely recommend checking that out as an option. And that's something that I do as well, right? So I don't know. And number two, I already mentioned this as something that I have done, is doing sound design. So video games, film, I guess I just mentioned podcasts. I don't know how good this list is. It's not like a very discrete list, but I don't know. Anyway, sound design. So you can do sound design. Sometimes people will be working on indie games. That's a great way to get into things if you don't want to try to get into like a big video game house or facility. Film, there are a lot of people making indie films, documentaries, stuff like that. You just got to get yourself out there. And, you know, if you're an audio engineer, I've noticed, especially pre-COVID, you know, going to things like meetups that are film oriented, I was often the only audio engineer there or one of like two people there. So that's one way to kind of stand out and then hopefully get more business as a result. So, okay. And number three is another thing that I've done that I forgot to mention at the top of this, but that is doing live sound work. So that can be in theaters, it can be at concert venues, it can be in a variety of places, really. This one is pretty stunted because of COVID, but you know, when things start opening back up again, or maybe if you can find an event that's like social distance friendly or something like that, you could start to get into doing live sound work. And it is very different from recording audio, from mixing audio. It's very different from the more studio oriented stuff. You do, process things differently when you're doing live sound and you're going to deal with different types of equipment and stuff like that. So there is a bit of a learning curve to it, but if you want to get into it, there's actually a good amount of work out there. I had very good luck when I was first starting out getting jobs in theaters, doing audio for plays and stuff. So that's a thing. So that's a fun one to get into. And when the world opens back up, hopefully the world opens back up soon. Um, It's a cool one to consider because I actually had a lot of fun doing live sound. There's a community around working in a theater, and it's kind of like the summer camp effect because you'll have, especially if you're doing like a tech week or something, you'll have these crazy long days sometimes, like 12, 14 hours, sometimes a little bit more. And you become very close to the people that you're working with, and it's a lot of fun. That's something that I really miss about doing that kind of work. Okay, and so number 4 is something that I have never done, but I think it is fascinating, and that is forensic audio. So if you want to get into this, I'm not 100% sure on the path to get into this, but I have heard about people doing it, and it seems like it's something that could be very, very rewarding and very interesting. And especially if you have more of the analytical mind that's interested in the science behind sound, I could see that being a really great path to take and a really cool type of gig to seek out. Okay, and so number 5 wasn't exactly my cup of tea necessarily. I have done a little bit of this, but it's the idea of doing convention work. So this is kind of akin to the idea of doing live sound work, but it is a little bit different. So oftentimes when you're doing convention audio work, it's either it's kind of more of an IT thing. So it's like you're helping make sure that recordings of talks that are in the different rooms at a convention or something like a convention, you're making sure that those recordings are being done smoothly, making sure things are still working. You often have to learn about things like projectors and stuff that aren't audio related necessarily. And then sometimes you'll have to do things that are more like physical labor, which that's true for doing live sound too. There's actually a lot of physical work involved in doing live sound. So you have to be willing and able to do that for the most part. But other than that, it can be very fun. And also my experience doing convention work, the convention centers that I worked at actually had unions that I guess the convention center was under their domain. And so even though I was not a member of a union, I got paid a union rate. So a union hourly rate, which was much higher than the rate I was getting when I, doing my theater work, for example. So that can be a nice bonus to it is the difference in the rate of pay. So that might be a good one for you to search out if you're interested in audio and you're trying to get a little more income. Okay, and so number 6 ties into the gig that I was talking about where I processed the CEO network audio, and that's the idea of doing corporate audio. So in my example, what I was doing is processing audio for the CEO network, but there are a lot of corporations, right? There are a lot of businesses that are kind of more of like a corporate environment, like office environment, and they might be making recordings or wanting to make recordings of whatever is involved in their business, and they might be interested in hiring an audio engineer to help them clean that stuff up and archive it and help them manage that system. So I would check that out. Maybe look into that. Maybe you want to ask around to businesses in your area and see if they could use that to kind of help. When I was doing that type of audio work, I very recently stopped doing it. But when I was doing it, I was actually paid through a temp agency, even though I'd been at the company for like 6 years or so by the end of it. But that's just because I was doing like a few hours a week, sometimes 4 hours a week. It kind of varied. When they had their big yearly convention, it would be way more hours per week just to process all that audio. But, they don't have to hire you on full time sometimes to get the benefit of having you as an audio engineer to help them with this specific task. You can kind of be more of a contract type of person. You can be more of a freelance assist for them, so to speak, for lack of a better word, because I'm having a mind blank on a certain word. I don't know what it was. But anyway, corporate audio work. There's a whole world of that out there if you're interested. Okay, and so number 7 on my list, I don't think I've done anything that would fall under this category, but it's the idea of doing like archival work, so archival audio work, right? So you can do that for museums, libraries, for colleges, a lot of nonprofit organizations, a lot of organizations that are educational focused might have a need for archival audio services. So I would think that would be very rewarding and fun, and you might learn some interesting stuff if you're archiving audio for like a museum, for example. So I just thought that would be a really interesting one to pursue. I have not personally done that, I don't think. Sometimes I forget these things, but I don't think I've ever done anything like that that would fall under that category. But I wanted to include it because it sounds interesting and fun. And it's another way to get additional income in as an audio engineer doing something that's relevant to audio. And, before I finish up, I just wanted to mention, some of these things you might not be that interested in doing. Like, that might not be your passion. Your passion might be music. Your passion might be sound design. And, you might not be that interested in doing something like an archival job for a while. But I've noticed that a lot of these jobs that I have done, especially when I was starting out and stuff, I did a lot of these things that were kind of adjacent to music. You learn things in them that then give you a bit of an edge when you transition into music, if you decide to transition into music. So there's an advantage to that, I don't think a lot of people think about that. They just kind of want to go straight to what they want to go to, and they don't realize that sometimes if you do these things that are adjacent to your industry, it actually makes you, well-rounded, a better rounded audio engineer. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but there's an advantage to it, so. All right, so that's about it. That's all I wanted to say for today. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any other ideas of jobs that are audio engineering that aren't music related, I would love to hear them in the comments below. I'm sure other people watching this would love to hear them in the comments below. It's a tough industry, so sometimes we want to try other things. So, I would really appreciate all the standard YouTube stuff. So like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All that stuff would really be appreciated. And I do have that Patreon. So it's patreon.com/CatoNoise. And my patrons do get access to additional content. We just started a Discord server kind of recently. I don't know. It might have been like a month by now, but we have a Discord server now. We just started a book club on the Discord server. That's been a ton of fun. And we build each other up, and it's been a lot of fun on the Patreon. So if you want to go check that out, it's patreon.com/CatoNoise. And other than that, I think that's it. I come out with new videos every Wednesday, and thank you for watching. Okay. I'm like giving the camera crazy eyes, like. I don't know. What do I have to talk about? There's construction outside. That's a ton of fun. I love hearing it. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's driving me mad. Talk about some of those. Okay, number 3 is number 3 is something that I have a new short-term goal to actually take this GoPro and bring it downstairs and get some videos of the tricks that I've taught my bunny how to do. So she comes when I call to her. I got some of that on her Instagram already. It's at Olive Martini if you want to check it out. I'll put it on the screen. But shameless self-promotion. Well, she's not me. So is it self-promotion? Yeah, it's self-promotion. So anyway, I want to film some of her tricks. So I've taught her how to come when I call her. I've taught her how to spin in like whatever direction I snap my fingers in. I've taught her how to do up, which is like when she goes on her hind feet and kind of begs like a dog type of thing. I'm teaching her to high five. She's getting pretty good at high five. I don't know what else I've taught her. She does agility, so she does jumps and stuff. But anyway, I just want to get it on camera just for me to stare at in the middle of the night when I can't sleep. I tend to kind of just scroll her Instagram. If you're sick of social media, and you have a pet, this is the best thing ever. You make an Instagram just for your pet, and then you only follow back other pets. You have to be strict about it. Even no matter who it is that follows your pet and how close you are to the person, do not follow them back. Just follow back other pets. And then in the morning, when you start scrolling on your social media feed, just use their Instagram instead of all your other social media. And it's going to be like the happiest, most uplifting thing to scroll in the morning. And it's way better than scrolling Facebook, I promise. So that's my new life hack, I guess. It's not new. I've been doing that for a while. I've been doing that for years, actually. Anyway, it's a life hack from me. So to you. You're welcome. I don't know. Okay, bye.